I would like to thank tonight's presenters and everyone joining us in person and via live stream. Thank you for being here. Trevor Lintvent will lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All of our board members are in attendance. There are a few addendum materials on the following topic: written comment, awards and recognitions, communication and public relations report, board calendar, and policies to be heard on second reading for adoption. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addendums. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. We will now move on to public and written comment. Written comment was received and is included in the addendum. As a reminder, public can only comment on the items listed on the agenda. We will now accept public comment. I've received 2 requests for comment on the same agenda item. The speakers will have 3 minutes each, or they may choose a representative which will have 10 minutes to present. We'll begin with Robin Allgood.
Thank you, board members. My name is Robin Allgood. I'm appointed the speaker of our agenda item. However, one of our students, Shannon, also wanted to address the board, so we'll allot our 10 minutes within those 2 people, if that's okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight. Again, my name is Robin Allgood. I have 5 students that have been in School District 25, including myself, and I have a lot of love for it. And my daughter, Olivia, is a freshman at Highland High School on the junior varsity cheerleading team. I'm here representing parents of these athletes, these 15 junior varsity athletes in Pocatello at Highland High School who would like to seek approval to attend a cheerleading competition in Las Vegas, January 24th through the 25th of 2025. We come to you because I went seeking out what's the right channel, and the policy manual states that it is the Board of Trustees that can give us approval for out-of-state overnight travel for students in our school district. I think we have a lot in common, knowing that we all want our kids to have good educational experiences and ways to grow. And this is a way to grow for them, to gain autonomy, to see an outside community, a bigger picture of what they can accomplish, to expand their horizons. And I know that as a high school athlete myself, I had the opportunity to go outside of my own state and participate in a national competition, and enriched my experience, expanded my horizons, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. We also want you to know that our plans do comply with your current guidelines. We will not exceed the allotted amount of miles. Our round trip will be 1,200 miles, and we will only miss 2 days of school. Also, very important to us and to you as well is the safety and preparedness of our student athletes. And a cheerleading team of this kind has varsity athletes and junior varsity athletes for a reason. We need to pull upon our varsity team or junior varsity team as if they were our substitutes that come in and fill a space when needed, when an athlete's injured or ineligible to participate. And it's a safety issue, and it's for their protection and also for being prepared, not only physically, but also financially for an event like this. It's important that we have both teams there. And this also allows our junior varsity team to showcase their routine that they've also worked hard on. Not every athlete gets to move to the varsity level. And so this provides an opportunity for athletes at a junior varsity level to also be challenged and to have more teams that they get to see, a bigger world view of what they can accomplish outside of their own community. It's also important for this team to feel unified in their purpose and in working together. No one feels left out. Last year, we were not able to have our junior varsity athletes there. And as I saw other teams there with their junior varsity athletes, I was there with my older daughter, who is now graduated. She was a senior. And I felt like these junior varsity athletes need to be here, and this would have been better for our preparedness and for the safety of our team as well. Also, our junior varsity fundraise with our varsity athletes, and so it is more equitable that they also participate in this competition for the use of funds. We have unanimous supports from our parents, our coaches, our students. We were all surveyed before making our request, and we're also prepared to cover the financial obligations. We are not seeking any funding from the board. We are also wanting to use fundraising when we get approval. Also know that we are not the only team that wants this, or the Idaho Falls School District 91 permitted Idaho Falls High School varsity and junior varsity cheerleaders to attend last year this same competition. You're probably well aware the Highland High School cheer team has a long history and represents Idaho very well at national competitions and within the state. They are held to a very high standard, and it's good for them. It's good for them to be challenged. And last year, as I attended competition with them, I sat in the audience, and of course people can tell where I'm from because I'm yelling for my team, and they're saying to me, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" And I'm like, "We're from Idaho. Why have we never seen you before?" Because we just haven't had this opportunity before, but we're here now. And they're like, "I want to move to Idaho." And they really said this to me, "Where in Idaho are you from?" And that just filled me with pride that we could represent Idaho that way. And I just want to stress how we have a responsibility not just to varsity athletes, but to junior varsity athletes too, to provide for them opportunities that can strengthen their abilities, provide grander horizons. They're just as important. They're no less worthy than a varsity athlete of an experience like this. It's not the same as taking a football team somewhere. We're different. We do not have to send that many athletes and staff. I know that when the Highland High School team went, they had 60 athletes go to Vegas. They had 70 go to Lake City. We're not asking for that. We're asking to add 15 athletes to, I think, our 24 athletes. I might be off by a few numbers there. Okay. Thank you for your time. Is Haven able to go?
Yeah, she can.
Good evening. My name is Haven Barlow, and I've been a senior on the cheer team. Well, I haven't been the senior, but I've been the JV captain for the past 3 years, and I'd like to be a voice for my team. I have been able to see these determined young women shape and grow through these past 6 months, and I am so grateful for that opportunity. I got the experience to compete at the competition 2 years ago when we went to California on the POM team, and it was so amazing. You got to see all these other teams, and we got to win. And it was such a confidence boost, and we brought our JV team that year, and unfortunately they didn't get to compete, but it was because of them that we got to win, because they were there cheering us on. And I have many of my friends who believe that too, and they're great athletes, and they really care about their education as well. Through the same, so that's my experience on that, and I just really believe that these girls work hard, just as hard as the varsity girls. Not only do they attend their own practices, but they stay and they cheer on the varsity girls, and they watch and they learn so that they can be able to have that same experience hopefully one day. And they care so much about it, and I can see how much they fight for it. And it breaks my heart that they're not allowed to have this same opportunity just because they're on JV. As you know, the football team took 60 boys to Vegas, and we're only asking to take 39. We got this information from Nick Sorrell, the head Highland coach himself, and he agrees too that these girls should be able to go. Not only do these girls cheer on the JV football team, but in the stands at the varsity games, they're always there, and they're making sure that they can win those state championships from the stands. I understand that there's different variables at plays for these different sports, but just because something is not equal does not automatically make it unfair. Making decisions based off of what others were given is what is unfair. Highland's theme this year is stand together and win together. This year, all we're asking is to be able to stand together so that we can have a chance to win together. As you consider this decision, I ask that as a school board, you're supposed to fight for us and not against us, and please consider these athletes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the August board meeting minutes as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the following minutes as presented. Special meeting for action, August 6th, executive session, student discipline, August 14th, special meeting work session, board policies, August 19th, regular board meeting, August 20th, and executive session, student discipline, August 28th.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Next on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which includes authorizing the payment of claims, approving the supplemental financial data, approving the human resource activity, and out-of-state overnight travel requests as presented. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, so can I ask either Sue or Tanya
Yes, you may.
come up
during the
and
discussion.
address
Absolutely.
the out-of-state travel? I'm wondering if you could just refresh my memory on what our policy, I guess, based on even the public comments, and even when I read these before it came before me, I was confused at what was being asked. And so now if I think from what I'm hearing is that there is a difference between whether JV and varsity can travel.
Correct, for national and big competitions. So, our philosophy is an athletic program at Pocatello School District 25 is, and I just, I don't want to demean or
Diminish?
talk about, yes, athletes that are, not well deserving. But as our philosophy, athletic programs are strategically structured to progress from junior varsity to varsity levels. The JV teams serve as a critical developmental stage, providing athletes with fundamental experiences that prepare them for more advanced challenges of varsity competition. This structured approach ensures a systematic development of skills and experience. So competing at a national level involves significant intensity and demands which can be overwhelming for JV teams. The pressures of high expectations associated with such competitions might adversely affect their enjoyment and morale. It is crucial that JV participants have positive supportive experience that fosters a genuine passion for the sport rather than solely focusing on competition success. JV teams learn at a level that allows them to develop and thrive in an environment tailored to their current capabilities. This approach not only supports their growth, but also ensures that varsity teams can demonstrate their advanced skills on a district, state, or national stage. Historically, District 25 JV teams do not participate in district or state competitions for the same reasons previously outlined, and this should and also apply to national events. I know we send girls basketball to tournaments in Vegas, or football. Girls softball teams go to St. George. We never take the JV team. It's the varsity team that goes down and competes at those competitions. If we started allowing JV teams, I really worry about the taxing on parents and the community to send these. I know just this event that they're referring to was $32,000 just for this weekend event, which I understand the parents are willing to do the work, but
What is the $32,000? Which event?
playing the event that they want to go to in Las Vegas.
So entry fees,
Hotel, flight,
Oh, okay, so that's for the varsity team?
for both when they wanted to take both, and we said we don't take JV, we just take varsity.
Oh, okay, so that was a total cost of all of them going?
Mhm.
Okay, so, so I guess,
So
I
I-
guess we don't know what the difference is, I guess, maybe? between
Correct.
Taking the, sorry, go ahead.
I just had one more
Okay.
question, comment. So I know we had, last year when we had the orchestra that wanted to go to New York.
Mhm.
And so there was a group, and there is no distinction between a varsity orchestra member or and so how do you reconcile that policy in those situations where there is no distinction between JV, but the whole group went?
When there is a distinction where they're not performing with the varsity level, does that make sense? So we have a varsity JV and sometimes freshman level with all the athletes and activities, except band and except choir and
So is there, I guess, a history of this? Like, have they
We've
wanted to
never
go?
sent a JV team to compete at a big event.
Okay.
We, just like we don't districts, just like we don't state and nationals.
And so they're just asking for this since, I know they said they're fundraising for it. So they're
Correct.
not asking us. as
They
a
would cover
district.
JV
Correct.
part of the cost, so the 32,000 isn't,
100.
3,200.
32,000.
Oh, I thought it was 3,200 per student.
No.
You're saying 32,000 for the whole group to go.
And so.
Right, and what we got to just be very aware of is, like I said, you have girls softball, baseball, basketball, they're all going to be coming and wanting to take JV to different events. And that's why we had the philosophy just for the fundamental, like we need this JV status to be more of the focus of their skills and levels to work up to varsity to go to those events.
So on this out-of-state request.
And I know, oh, go ahead,
I'm like, I've got full of
The
questions.
24 on there, is that just varsity?
that's just varsity
Okay.
from what they're telling me, yes.
How many
And-
junior varsity?
And they wanted, I believe,
15.
39 was the total they
15.
started with, yes.
15 is the JV, correct?
Okay.
So if you add that,
That would
yes,
be
that adds a
15
third.
is what we're
yes.
talking about. So
Yes.
I guess I don't really know what the difference is between, the 32,000 would be for everybody, but what's the difference? How much does it cost to just take
I think
the
it's,
extra 15?
I don't know. So if we probably take 32,000 divided by 39, that would be an estimate of per athlete.
Except for they don't have to pay for entrance fees, right?
Yeah, they would have an interest. It's two different competitions.
Oh, so
They're not going to
asking
help
to go and
participate.
compete too.
They're asking
I'm
go
sorry,
to
I did
compete
not
at a JV national level.
I see.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
So are there other JV
And I
teams
know
there?
that, go ahead.
Are there other JV teams there?
Are there other
Will
JV
there
teams
be
from
other
Idaho?
JV?
I know they talked about Idaho Falls, but I don't know of any other JV team.
Tonight on the agenda, you also have Century High School taking the varsity team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've
so
never
the
sent a
request
JV
that
team
is in
to
front of the board
a
this
large event
evening
like that.
has been presented and vetted. It was presented by the coach, and the coach then, turns it into the Highland administration. It's reviewed by Highland administration before it comes to the office.
Right.
So the original request before you tonight, vetted by the Highland administration and the chair coach, was for 24 athletes to participate.
Oh, and so, okay, so they're just asking for that extra 15
Correct.
that is not on the agenda.
So it would be
Correct.
my recommendation to the board that tonight in front of you, you could potentially approve this request. And then if the team wants to work through the chair coach, through the Highland administration, through our district athletic director, then bring it back and let the board make a decision once it's vetted through that proper process.
And there's plenty of opportunities for them to compete. I'm kind of concerned there's 5 events on the schedule right now, and they're only allowed to compete in 4. So that definitely will be a conversation of why there's 5 events on the schedule.
So
But
they-
4 events is the max that they can do in a
The
season.
JV or the varsity?
Both.
Both.
So I only see 2. When you say 5,
So if we look at their schedule, they go to Boise, they go to Burley, and they go to Blackfoot, and then they have their own Cupid's chair. So River Rampage, the 230 Boise, the Stampede Showdown, and Cupid's chair. And then
that's
Las
on the
Vegas.
varsity. So that's not even, we're not even talking about JV at this point.
I'm under the understanding it's both.
I see.
So they both compete in all of those?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm just curious, like, why would it be a limit of only 5 when like one is just in Blackfoot?
That's the state, IHSAA state
Okay.
rules, kind of like we have so many volleyball games, so many basketball games,
Right. Right.
and we're
And
only
you're
supposed to
saying
have
that-
4 events.
Oh, sorry. You're saying that they can only have 4 events?
And right now they have 5 listed, so I'm gonna have to talk to them about why we have 5
So I
listed.
just have one more clarifying question, and I understand that this is not before us to decide this, but when you talked about baseball and football or volleyball and those kind of things, when they go to those district competitions, there are not JV competitions.
Teams, no.
And so there's not
They
even.
can bring
so
some
it's-
JV
not a
players
band.
up
Right,
as
so they can
on the
go
bench,
and be
yes.
spectators and support, and so the difference
Yes.
here is that there is actually an opportunity for them
Yes.
to compete.
Yes.
Versus just support, moral
Yes.
support, and,
Yes.
okay.
I see. Okay, I didn't
Yes.
realize that, I guess, from the comments. Also, you just mentioned, like, if it's basketball, they can take JV athletes to sit on the bench for the substitutions.
Correct. We try not to let kids go out just to be spectators of school and so forth, right? But acknowledging the parent and so forth, to having people to be able to sub and so forth, absolutely.
Right, and I guess what was mentioned is the different positions, which I didn't realize there were that.
But there's
Yeah.
two different
Would those be
competitions.
considered alternates
Yes.
as opposed to an entire team?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
They
Yes.
come as, I don't remember what all was said, because I read the letter.
Right.
And I'm trying to, like, flyers, and I don't remember.
So
Anyway, the different positions,
Mm-hmm.
they're asking to be able to have the girls that could substitute in the different positions.
I'm unsure that, from what I'm understanding is there's a varsity competition and there's a JV competition. If something happened to the varsity, then the JV would be able to. I don't know what that would do to them. I don't know if they can compete in both
Like if they were at different.
because there's two different competitions.
I see, okay.
And so typically when we go down to a girls' basketball game or tournament in Las Vegas, which Century has done, they don't go to a JV tournament as well.
I see.
And
Or girls' softball at Highland goes down to St. George for tournaments. They don't take the JV team.
And is it because, like Heather just said, that there aren't JV tournaments for them to participate in?
Oh, I'm sure they could find a tournament to participate in. We try not to promote that high level of competition for our JV.
I-
Does that make sense? There's enough around locally, there's opportunities, there's enough, we feel like, and then that's kind of the staging systematically, right? Going from that freshman JV to varsity level.
And the JV can go to the other three, correct? It's that fourth one that we're talking about? Because you said they can,
There's 5 on
They
their
can
schedule,
compete
so I'm
for
assuming that they are going to all 5. I'm going off the schedule for
well, I guess
JV
if
and
they can
varsity.
only compete in four, something's going to have to be.
Thank you.
scheduled, I assume.
And I was told, I don't know, like at Cupid's, they go, but they don't get judged. So I don't know if that doesn't count. I know if you compete, that typically counts as an event, right? But I'll have to find out details on that.
Those would be clarifying questions.
Yes, I'll
Maybe
find
that
out.
we-
Because we don't want to get in trouble with the state. You're absolutely right. So I want to
Of
find
just
out why
the
we got
number- the
5.
number of events.
Yeah. But my, I guess, question to that is then it's not a lack of events that they can attend. It's just the wanting to go to nationals, which I understand. It's just our philosophy as a whole, and maybe we have a good group, right? But as a whole, we don't send JV to big events.
And I didn't realize that when I was reading the letter. I didn't realize that was the policy.
Yeah, I didn't.
And, and now that,
Well, it's not a policy, it's a
No, it's just
philosophy.
our philosophy is
So
the,
it fits within the policy, but not the philosophy, is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay. So we wouldn't have to change any policy.
correct.
It would just be, it's just a matter of, allowing. Anyway, okay,
and I guess my next concern would be, now that I know what's going on a little better, what kind of a door are we opening down the road for others that want to do this? Are we going to open it up for a big, I mean, I agree with what they said, what an opportunity would be for them to go and participate and certainly learn more and become better at what they do. And I'm all for supporting these kids the best we can, but then again, like you say, we don't send junior varsities to state.
District, state, or, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. But I
guess
guess what we can do is approve it, like Dr. Howe said, and then let it work through the motions and see how it comes back to us.
There wouldn't be any approving right now, it would come later.
not approving, right, we only can approve what's actually noted
On the agenda.
on the agenda. And so we can't do that, but that would be something for us to consider, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess the only other thing I would say is this is a little bit different than some other team things, because it is a little bit more individual. You know, they're individually, I guess every team has.
A JV.
Individually try out, like we're in football, they don't individually try out. I mean, they're chosen, but they're on the team if they want to be on the team.
There's a distinction at varsity and JV
Yes.
level and all.
They're chosen, right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, I don't know.
Okay, then we have the other one, right, that's going to Alberta? Wasn't there
Yeah.
another one on there?
Yeah, and so that's different than, that's not in our policy, right?
Well, that's a different, wasn't there another one that we need to
'Cause it's
approve
out of
to
the-
go to Calgary?
Yeah, the choir.
Well, it was one or the other, right?
So you have two different ones. You have Pocatello Choir is putting a request in to go to Calgary, Canada
Right.
for several days out of
Wait,
the
I thought
country.
that was Pocatello High School.
That's what it is, that's what I
It
said,
is
Pocatello
Poc-
High School.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then Highland High School's band has been invited to perform at the 4th of July in Washington DC. And they normally go on a spring break tour. They would like to see if their parents would rather do the 4th of July as opposed to spring break. But I told them they needed to bring it to you first to see if you would approve either or both, and then they'll take it to their parents and see which one trip they would like to go
Oh,
on.
okay. And
So-
that one is because our policy is it has to come to the board if it's over, what, 5,000 miles? Or what?
1,200.
1200.
1,200.
And
I guess 5,000 you could get.
the governor actually, the governor
And then you
actually
could probably
invited
get almost
Highland,
there.
the governor actually invited Highland High School's band to go to that parade.
Didn't they?
Oh,
perform
I
at the
see.
4th of July. So it's, again, but it needed to be brought to you guys. So that's the two odd ones, or different ones, is an
Okay.
out-of-country trip.
The out-of-country is different than what's in our policy. I mean,
It's-
that's,
It's within 1,200
It's
miles.
within the 12, only thing I'm concerned about that was if they go there, each kid's gonna have to have a passport.
No,
right?
they don't.
Oh, we don't have to?
So currently, if they travel as a school group,
Oh, okay.
the school group needs to travel with transportation paperwork. And they, as long as they stay with the group, they don't need a passport.
Oh, okay,
and there's no concern about
okay.
the fact that they don't have a passport. I would be.
I said, currently, that's what the travel is right now.
I-
You and I both know that travel changes
Yeah.
quickly, so,
I see.
at any rate.
So we don't need, do we need to change our policy so that it says they can go out of the country? Or does it not even say anything
It doesn't
about
say
that?
anything about that.
Well, I know when my daughter was in high school, the choir went to Calgary.
Mhm.
And they had a great time.
So
Is it a choir competition? What
There's
is,
a competition,
It's just-
some of, they sing at different venues, and the ones they've picked out are actually highly culturally enriched venues to sing at,
okay.
so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
want all these kids to have all those opportunities, so. Anyway, okay, so.
Thanks.
We will go ahead and make a motion to approve the ones that are on the agenda. So we were already, I already presented it, so is there a second?
We did have a first and a second, so it would just be all
Oh,
in
okay,
favor.
so we're already all in favor. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and the motion passed. Next on the agenda is the approval of, we already did the consent agenda. So we have the self-explanatory reports, and we don't need to approve those. We just, next is the awards and recognitions, which will be provided by Courtney Fisher.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Howell and Ms. Johnson. So tonight we will recognize several individuals who through their actions support and embody our district's mission and vision to think more, learn more, and be more together. I've invited here this evening 7 outstanding seniors from the Pocatello-Chubbuck School District who have been named semifinalists for the 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. This prestigious recognition places these scholars among the top academic achievers in the country, representing less than 1% of high school seniors nationwide. It's pretty impressive. So I'm going to invite them up to join me so they can say hello and you can congratulate them. From Century High School, who had 5 of these scholars, is Max here? Max Agris? I know that some of them couldn't join us due to soccer tonight. Adam Dolly, Jacob Finch, Edmund Jardine, Tyler Lee, if you want to come up here. And then from Highland High School, Trevor Lintvet. And from Pocatello High School, Bran Rollins. So I have certificates for you all. Max is not here, right? Adam, Jacob, is Jacob here? Edmund, are you Edmund? Tyler? As they're finishing up, I'll tell you a little bit. These scholars now have the opportunity to compete for the National Merit Scholarships, advancing toward finalist status and joining a legacy of academic excellence, and we are proud of their dedication and accomplishments. So let's give them one more round of applause for your accomplishments. And thank you to you and your families for being here with us tonight for this recognition. Next up, I'd like to invite Miss Rainbow Maldonado up to the podium with me. So if you don't know, Miss Maldonado is one of the founders of Kind Community, which has been in existence in our community since 2015. It has a soft spot in my heart because we started this organization together in 2015, and Rainbow has taken the helm as I've assumed more responsibilities with the district and with Tanya Wilkes' help. We have really accomplished a lot this Kind Week. It just started yesterday, and we just finished up 3 presentations at our schools. We will be doing, I think, 6 more assemblies. We've invited Tanner Clark, who is a presenter talking about something that has been on our agenda lately, which is the dangers of cell phones and social media. And so his presentation is about an hour long. He's at the middle school and high school levels. We did Pocatello High School first thing this morning, Irving, and then Hawthorne Middle School. Very well received to both audiences. I wanted to invite Rainbow here just to recognize all the efforts that they've done for the past 9 years. Next year, we'll be going into a decade of Kind Community in this community, and it's quite an accomplishment, and it is a wonderful asset to help. We talk a lot about fostering belonging, and that school culture being so important to foster that sense of belonging, and Kind Community does leaps and bounds to help us accomplish that. So I wanted to thank Rainbow for all of her efforts, as well as the Kind Community. It takes just a task force of volunteers to accomplish Kind Week every week. Not only do we have the presentations in the middle schools and high schools, there's a community presentation tomorrow night at Century High School. I would love to invite you there. It starts at 6 o'clock. And Mr. Clark will be presenting there to ISU students and also School District 25 families or any community members. So please attend if your schedules allow. Again, that's at Century tomorrow evening. At 6, and it lasts about an hour. And then on Thursday night in the boardroom, we will be hosting another panel presentation that is just a really important topic. It's called Behind the Screen, What Every Parent Needs to Know About Protecting Your Child from Online Dangers. And we have Nick Edwards, who is a former School District 25 school resource officer. He now works for the Internet Child Safety Task Force, I believe, at the state level. Did I get that right? Oh, Internet Crimes Against Children. And we also have our panelists who will be here to have this very important conversation with our families. It's always just a really wonderful event, so invite you to that as well. And that is also at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom on Thursday evening.
Will you be recording that?
Yes, it will be streamed. The presentation at Century will not be streamed, but the presentation here in the boardroom will be streamed on our YouTube channel and also available on Facebook. So Rainbow, thank you so much for everything you do.
Love you.
Let our board members say hello. And check out the calendar events. There's just even more activities than I could even mention tonight, so. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, and next we have the communications report before you get to the end of the room. We're like, whoa, wait.
Change of venue.
So, go from there to here. All right, I wasn't expecting that so soon. Okay, in your board packet, I've also included in the addendum the 2 flyers for both of those presentations that I just mentioned. And then most of the other things are self-explanatory. We have just how, the mileposts of how our social media is performing, Facebook continues to be our most effective tool. And then I've put the live stream information for you. Our top performing posts, Highland High School parking lot changes was our top performing post. That was, very informative and really great that we got that information out to families. I believe that new parking lot is being very well received to sort of ease that congestion up at Highland. So that just tells me that our really important information is getting where it needs to go as the top performing post. It's working, so that's good news to me. And then our second top performing post was about one of our teachers, Mr. Morgan, who was featured on a billboard. You may have seen it around town. The Idaho State University College of Education featured him on their billboards all around town, and so that got quite a lot of traction as well. Also, I emailed this to you as well, but I wanted to put it in the communications report for this month, which is our annual safety reminders that went out last Thursday to families. This was just based on national events and some local things that happen. This was a very timely communication that is just designed to really educate our families about all the safety protocols that we have. We take safety we prioritize the safety of our staff and learners. We are constantly looking at things. Ms. Wilkes and I co-chair the safety committee. We're constantly with that committee and our team, our partners in law enforcement, looking at ways that we can enhance our safety. And so this communication was designed to make this, it's very dense information and we do a lot. And so I wanted to make it, put it in a new format this year that made it more accessible to families, that they could not just get a 3-page letter. It's very dense in that format with links in the PDF that they could research even more information and really educate. We've had hall checks, and hall checks are very different from lockdowns. And so we want to continue to educate our community about what those differences are with those Idaho standard command responses for schools.
I thought that was well done, very well done. I thought it was really organized, and I thought you did a really good job because it's easy to read and understand and to put parents' minds at ease.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, when we do have those automatic communications that go out, is there any way to link to your information so that when it says, oh, there's a hall check, there's that link? And then if they want to know, refresh their memory, like, what is a hall check?
Right.
Or is that not?
I do link to information when it's relevant to, and sometimes we're moving so fast and trying to get the message that I wouldn't always have time to link to the standard responses, but that's something I could definitely take into consideration as we move forward. It just depends on the situation.
Not to add more complication or anything,
Right.
but I just thought of that as you were saying that, because in an event, when they're panicked, they might not remember
Right.
which thing that is.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thing. And, when we have events, trying to help people understand that really calling the school at that time is not a good idea, even though you want to know. Like, we are releasing information just as quickly as we can. But I think parents don't always realize that when you call the school, you're distracting the school from attending to the matter at hand. And so it really is just best to sit back, relax as much as you can, and wait for that further information, because we really, really work hard to get that out as quickly as possible. But I will take that into consideration and try to work in a link maybe to this document overall, and see if I can do that without complicating the message. We also, in addition to that PDF that went out, we revised our Safe Schools website and just made sure that the information in both of those documents was cohesive and available, and just really trying to make this accessible. The one other thing that I will draw your attention to is the supplemental levy fact sheet. I also emailed that to you last week so that you could have a heads up that we would be reviewing that. I've sent that to Amy White, our legal counsel, who has said good to go. So our first community presentation is tomorrow with the Southeast Idaho Republican Women, and then we go to the Chamber Board on Friday, and our school presentations start next week. So unless you have any changes, we will begin presenting this information to the public tomorrow at noon.
I thought it looked really good.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Amy Bowie will review the 2024-2025 Continuous Improvement Plan. So I won't entertain a motion yet. I almost kept reading.
You're close, you're really close.
Good evening. It's good to see you. As you remember, at our work session, you had the opportunity to review the 24-25 continuous improvement plan. It was presented at that time. Tonight, the board will be asked to adopt the plan so that we can meet the October 1st submission deadline.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the 2024-2025 continuous improvement plan as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board adopt the 2024-2025 continuous improvement plan as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, any discussion? I'm so sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passed. Next on the agenda is business operations, which will be presented by Jonathan.
Madam Chair, we missed an item under 11A.
I didn't have
The
that as
enrollment
enrollment to go down,
there's
like
not a
one
thing
thing
on it.
above. We had that district attendance areas. If it's not on there.
Oh, is it in a different order on here? Here, I'll just go to this.
Okay.
I'll just go to this. Okay, so it will be the enrollment and district attendance areas discussion.
Yes. Thank you.
So I will.
Is it-
Oh, you're going to do it?
Oh, okay.
I had Doug, Sue, AJ, and Courtney.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as we discussed last week in the board work session, we reviewed some of this data information and then talked about the potential of forming a couple of subcommittees. I provided that proposal to the board and asked that you take that into consideration and over a week's time, provide us direction as to how you would like us to proceed with that proposal. And then we can get underway. Courtney also had provided to you a timeline for how we would roll this out through the months of September up through about February and March. And so I think the timeline works well. Maybe just the logistics of the recommendation for a couple of subcommittees, one which would be made up of elementary parents and administrators, and then the secondary group made up of, and the elementary groups would be based upon like 5 zones across the district. And then the secondary group would be a delegate from each of the secondary schools, middle school and high school. And then administrators being part of that, and then the respective director of elementary or secondary taking the group through that. And then an opportunity for some focus groups and public hearings as we proceed through this proposal. And so for tonight, I would just like your direction and help us get this underway, because we know that we do have declining enrollment across the district, and so it's important for us to take a look at this as we move forward.
Mhm. Is there any suggestions as far as?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the committees, the 2 subcommittees, 1 secondary, 1 elementary. And I would like to just throw this out there, I guess. I'm just wondering on a 1-to-1 ratio of district and like parent members, if that would help balance the opinions.
So you're saying like 50-50?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so there's, so on the elementary one, there's 12 members, but there's only 5 parents. And then there's 7.
Trying to find which one that is. I'm sorry.
It's the second bullet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So if there was a way to do a 1-to-1 ratio, so
Right here.
it would put you up to 14 members.
Okay, that's still
Okay.
manageable.
Yeah, I just feel
The
like,
approach and suggestions.
I feel like as a parent volunteer, you would feel like you're a little more involved instead of like does that make
Okay,
sense what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So how would you select the
Just
additional
weighted
2?
evenly.
Instead of an additional 2, maybe an additional 5, so you have 2 from each zone, or how would you choose the other 2 parents?
Well, I know up above, we said that we would ask for people to submit, like, if they wanted to be on the board, the
So,
random drawing.
Yeah, yeah.
So So you would get one from each and then just randomly two others.
And then you randomly, they'd come from different zones.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my only suggestion.
Okay, so on both the elementary and the secondary? Okay. Thank you. I guess a suggestion that I had at our last meeting is to maybe differentiate between the members that are meeting together with administration and then also get, I mean, at the high school level, compared to how many students are there versus like individual schools at the elementary, it's a big difference. It's, I mean, it could be 175 at the lowest end probably, or something around there. At the lowest
225.
elementary, 225, to clear to, over 1,000,
Yeah, 1,500
Like it's
at
a
Highland
really
High
big
School.
difference. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe if we could have this, have the committee that we're talking about, but then in addition to that, just kind of just randomly draw, like say maybe 5 from each high school to say, you were chosen to just submit your opinion in writing. And then, just because that just gives us more, but then it doesn't add more to the committee. It just lets everybody know, these people were also, here's our committee, but then these people submitted opinions also. I mean, anybody can submit an opinion, but just that we sought an opinion from, I don't know,
Okay.
something like that. I'm just trying to think of how can we really try to involve the community without having any bigger of a committee. Because you can't have a huge committee, which I understand that.
Right.
How
What
did you do it in 2017? I mean, I know there were focus groups, but did you do these kind of subcommittees?
We were primarily focused on high school because it was open enrollment. So there were 2 factors, and we mentioned that last week. One, that our populations were a little bit lower in some schools and overcapacity in others. And so it was with that we looked at the open enrollment. And so our goal at that time was just the high schools. And then that did pick up some of the middle schools, a couple of the changes there, but we were unaffected at the elementary level. I think the previous elementary attendance area that we looked at was Wilcox and Chubbuck, and that was, I'm guessing, 12, 13, 14 years ago. So we did not look at it district-wide. So what I worry about, Madam Chair, and maybe there's a way we can figure this out and work around, is to have folks submit an opinion. They would have to have all of the information. And the information we can send out, but then I think what's vital to the information is the discussion that comes with it. And so if...
And I guess I'd have to watch the recording. I mean, if they, if they had to watch the live stream, I guess it would really be incumbent upon them to do their homework, if they chose to do that.
Okay.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like a problem to ask for that, for opinions, but it seems like it would really go a long ways in showing a more kind of representation.
So I don't know if this would be, I already know it's going to be an overwhelming logistics issue, but if you had the committees where they were small like this, but then had a public meeting at each individual school, where it was an open, where these committee members would, get that kind of feedback from the parents in each of the individual schools. Obviously, on the elementary side, it could be overwhelming, but at least that's how they could gather that
Okay,
information.
and maybe we could cluster schools at the
Sure,
elementary.
sure,
Yeah,
if
we have
there's
sister
ways
schools,
to,
what we call it in elementary.
Because then that way you could get that public feedback from those that are interested, and who knows, maybe from when in there, it might bubble up someone that's more wanting to be more involved. I don't know.
Yeah, because we will have public hearings. And so, but you're not really saying public hearings,
No, more just getting ideas, kind of an open,
kind of more at the beginning stages,
Yeah.
in the information gathering stage?
right. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's a
it's-
good idea too, to
How
try
do
to,
you-
to try to get information from, and also, it's so Roman, can we do like one at a time? I mean, do we have to do elementary, middle, and high school at the same time? Or could we do like middle and high school first? And then do elementary? Because elementary is it kind of a different thing? Because enrollment numbers have declined in a different way. And high school, it's been more static, but it's a different problem. At high school, it's based on, the size of a 6A, according to the state, is this range. A 5A is this range. And so where do our schools fall within their division? It's kind of more of a different situation than elementary. It's like, what school do you live closest to? It's kind of quite different as considerations. Because we have the capacity, and especially once everything's done, we'll have capacity at all 3 schools. I don't think that's really so much the issue.
It's just how it's carved up.
Yeah, it is not a capacity issue at all.
Yeah, but
Because
it
as
is-
we saw in the numbers, we're down about 20% across the district in every building.
Yeah, and that's in elementary, right?
All
it's across
all the
all
way
of it?
through.
Oh, I didn't realize it was
Yeah.
all the way through. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty significant in some of the elementaries. So that's just a different.
Oh, excuse me. No, Madam Chair, you're right. It was elementary, that it was about 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that just feels like it's a bit different of a conversation, because it would need to be a lot of communication with the public about, it's not because we don't like one school, or we don't, nobody wants to close a school down. But when you're talking about how much money it costs to have them all up and running, it seems like a different conversation. I don't know, a little bit.
Just the ultimate goal is to have our communications and a plan to move forward by spring. And then that way families can prepare, whether it's through the transfer process, if I want to remain. When we talk about grandfathering, how long do you allow that to be in effect? Is it through a family? Is it through, a couple years? And so all of those things have to be sifted out as well. And I think that's part of the larger conversation. But definitely to start, we need the 2 separate committees, but I just,
Wonder if we could tag team it, maybe one first and then the other, because
Yeah.
it seems like a lot of communication, and it's just so different. It's different issues,
okay.
feels like to me. That would be my suggestion. It seems like,
Okay.
so I would prefer that, just because it's trying to balance and get information out, and it's very different
Okay.
population.
Let me,
That's a
no,
lot of time,
it's
so-
great discussion, thank you. Maybe I can have Mr. Watson and Mrs. Paddock come up, and if they can share some thoughts now based upon what they've heard, and we can just bounce a couple ideas off of one another. And if we need a little more time to come back to you based upon this discussion, then in a special meeting, we could take this up and make sure we have clear direction that meets your goals and objectives and kind of meets the general timeline too, if we could.
Want to go first? You want me to go?
So if you want to tackle one before the other, the need isn't elementary.
So would you suggest we do that first?
Yes.
Well, it actually
difference-
does make sense.
The
because-
difference in high school
Right.
numbers from the last 7 years is 17 kids. So there hasn't been a drop in high school numbers.
Overall.
Overall.
It's the difference between the
Middle
three
school, there's
that are
about
carved up.
280 kids difference. So that would be our next. But elementary is where.
Is that due to the charter schools?
Part of it, and part of it, we just don't have as many kids coming in to kindergarten and coming through as we have in the past.
No, people are not having as many kids.
That could be it.
And there are more options as well than there was 7 years ago, and so we see that as you looked at the numbers and the information that in the elementary that you can see coming in, that trend is they're going to keep moving, but right now in the elementary, obviously the numbers have declined enough to where we really need to take a look at the capacity and what we want to do moving forward, because we know that trend doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. Who knows what the next 5 or 10 years will bring, but as of right now, that trend is not changing. So you'll see that group, the last couple of years, those groups will move through and it'll eventually impact middle school and high school. But as of right now, the biggest impact is that we're seeing is in the elementary
So
level.
I know you mentioned last meeting that opening of a new class in each level of one of the charter schools has already affected enrollment. I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, and you'll see in areas where there are charter schools geographically, you'll notice those schools have the biggest impact just because of, like with neighborhood
There.
schools, the proximity has the biggest impact on those schools.
So thoughts about doing that first, and then, because, it is supposed to, I guess ideally, the cohorts are supposed to kind of move up through middle school and high school relatively together, right? Is that a goal or not a goal?
When we did from open enrollment to closed boundaries, the part of that goal of that committee was to have the elementary schools feed into middle schools, and then middle schools actually ended up splitting out into high schools. But the goal was to get elementary schools to feed mostly into one middle school. Whether that can stay or not remains to be.
Because I thought that the middle school boundaries were kind of horizontal across the city.
They are. I mean, kind of, but yes, they are.
They sort of are.
Same.
But a lot of them feed into, similar. I mean, for the most part, there's a couple elementary schools that go to multiple middle schools, but for the most part, they were able to get it set up so elementary had their feeder middle schools, but there are a few exceptions.
So can I ask, have you already kind of formulated in your mind what you think you want to have happen? So clean slate.
Clean slate. I definitely would say that there's a need for us to look at elementary boundaries and probably elementary boundaries district-wide.
Okay, so you haven't thought about, okay, maybe there are these schools that need to be combined, or
No,
you haven't done that?
we've talked about the schools in the middle of town as far as capacity and numbers specifically, but then as you get to the outer edges of town, there's also some things there that we probably need to look at, because we know historically Gate City and Idaho have had high numbers. That hasn't been the case the last couple of years, but they're definitely fuller than some of our other schools in most grade levels. But those core middle of town schools, there's just not as many learners that are attending at those schools. So as we look at it, first initially we thought, maybe 4 or 5 schools, and as we had the discussion and looked at it a little closer with transfers, and that's why we included that transfer information in there to show you that some of our schools are showing that they're at a larger capacity because they have a lot more transfers in. And so taking a look at that, I think we would be better off to look as a district, while we're doing it, to look district-wide and see what kind of impact that might have.
So I know we talked a little bit about this capacity page. Can we get one that's current that shows the actual capacity of the actual building, not based, I know there's a difference between capacity based on transfers, because you can't transfer
So
more than what you have teachers.
we just got copies of the maps of the floor plans for each school.
Oh, I see.
They're from 2014. And depending on what school you're at, walls have been taken down, walls have been put up. So AJ and I literally are going to each school and saying, okay, are these really all your classrooms?
Sending it to each principal
and-
to correct.
Well, and like I said, I know Alameda had a modular with 4 classrooms in it. Walls have been taken out on 2 of them, so that there's 2 large classrooms for orchestra and choir now. There's not 4 classrooms there. There's 2 large classrooms.
Oh, and that's actually so
So-
nice to have that.
It is very nice to
Like,
have
I
it,
was like, does any of it other
but it
school
still
have
counts as
that?
4 classrooms, and we should be able to put in this many kids. And it's like, those aren't there anymore.
So if I'm thinking about these committees that you're wanting to form, in my mind, I'm thinking there's probably a lot more of that groundwork that needs to be done before, I'm thinking as a parent coming in, if you don't already have that data, or if you don't, obviously your administrators and your teachers, I guess we don't have teachers on the committees, but, I think they would have that kind of input, but I think a parent, I don't know if they,
I don't know if they
you would
want
have
to
to
do
have
that
more,
part.
so
gonna
even when I
say-
talk about those meetings at the schools, unless you have something, it could be not
And
a
I-
good use of time.
And I see that as being part of the committee work, even with parents involved, is what data, what
Right.
data do we
What do they need
need
to see
to make
in
these
order to make
informed
that?
decisions? And then going out, obviously knowing we need the capacity of the buildings to be accurate, some of those things. But what other data would you like to see to help you make an informed decision? I think that would really help direct what we're doing to have those subcommittees as part of that, including the parent input piece as being a big portion. And what do you think we need to help, make a decision and then make some recommendations to the school board from there?
Right. I think this sounds great.
I've got one more question.
Yes.
So just going off of what Mrs. Judy was saying, with separating it out, do you guys feel like that would create less work and a little more like clarity, or is it gonna kind of double your workload and you're gonna do the same things twice a million times?
AJ and I work next to each other.
I think we would coordinate some things, but I think there are definitely some differences that we've discussed between elementary and secondary that really I think two committees would be more beneficial because of those differences.
Yes, the two committees, but I mean, my
Doing it-
understanding is
doing it
she was
not
saying like, do this one now, and then when that
Oh.
one's completely done, then do
I
the
see what
other
you're saying
one.
at different times.
Or even at the end stages of it, so you really have an idea of where your feeder schools are, or something.
I would say, I'll jump in. I would say from the elementary level, it's something we need to take a look at and definitely address now, moving forward. I don't think we should wait and do secondary first. Now, I'm not going to speak for the secondary side and where they feel that they're at, but I think at the elementary level, we need to start taking a look at it with our enrollment and what we need to do moving forward. I think that is definitely one we need to take a look at. I'll let Sue address
And I
how
will
she
tell you for
feels about
secondary, this is a very difficult timeline to do because they choose their classes in February and March. High school classes are chosen in February. And if we push this timeline till March, they've already chosen their high school classes and the master schedule is already being worked on.
Oh.
And
So
if
we
you have-
really, truly do need two
So we need
separate
two and-
processes
And in
with
conjunction.
two separate timelines.
But
I would
at the-
agree.
But concurrent, not one before the other.
I think we need to start talking about secondary. I don't think that it's as dire right now as
I see.
elementary.
So we need to start with the timeline with the elementary first. So should we focus,
I think secondary committee can start talking about it and start gathering information. I'm not 100% convinced that this can get done this year, even if we get all the information done. To switch boundaries in March
because they already
is
will have the
difficult.
classes.
We may say, okay, we're looking at this, and then we aren't switching boundaries this coming year, we'll switch the following year, maybe?
That
And
makes
that's-
sense
And
to
that's
me.
what that committee needs to get together and dig through the data. And that's the difference for elementary and secondary.
And elementary is not that at all. It's not the same concern. There are not.
Ours
the
is
same
definitely
concerns.
just declining
Because they
enrollment
can
and
literally have the
capacity
bus
and.
pick them up. No
Correct.
matter what school they're assigned to, they will have a bus.
I mean, there's always that concern you're going to have with neighborhood schools and what does that look like and how are we, determined to take a look at that. But there are definitely differences between the two.
Are there any other comments, or do you feel like you need any other?
I think we have a good direction from you guys.
Thank you.
Get started.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
If that's, now, I thought we did the continuous improvement. I think.
We sure
that-
did.
I think
Yep.
this is different than,
Yeah.
Correct.
The outline may
Okay.
have been
Yes.
reversed.
all right, just as,
or
I don't want
something.
to, I don't want to skip.
Right.
I don't want to
Okay.
skip it.
Nope, you're good.
So, so tell me if the next thing, on this one, it says the rebuild update.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
Yep.
Okay.
And there are 4 things for you, so you can, it's the Highland rebuild, the PV Tech update, the pay manual revision, and the Viva trustee appointments.
Okay.
Is
Yes.
that okay?
2 information items and 2 action items. So yes, thank you, board, for your time this evening. Again, not too much as we gave an update last week. We do have a trench now to the north that will be, it's currently filled with a few puddles with today's rain, but it will have some pipe in there, and that will reroute the utilities from the main vault there on the east side that is remaining around the new addition into the existing buildings, and that will supply the existing buildings that will stay there. So the demo contractor, they're spending their time. It's definitely ones that you measure 10 times and cut once when you're coming to demo. It's just with any demo project, they're really focused on where the building is attached. And so just, making sure they know exactly what's on the other side of the wall and how that's going to come down. So that's, it's time well spent while the utilities are being rerouted to be able to start that, the actual demolishing the existing building.
And that will be their permanent home, right? When you reroute
Yes,
the
absolutely.
utilities, that'll be their permanent home for the new building.
That is correct. So if they've
Great,
got the
perfect.
drawings and went outside the existing, the new footprint that will be there.
So technically, we can actually say the rebuild is starting.
Um,
The first step
Sure.
is utility.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
It had to be rerouting, yep, so we definitely have started. So. Okay.
Wasn't there a question about some of the bricks and if people wanted bricks? Did I remember a conversation?
Were they going to the auction yard?
No.
What?
So bricks in the original demolition, we asked the contractor to set some aside, and there was a pallet that people could come and just grab one.
Okay.
So it was only those items that were deemed by insurance to be non-salvageable.
Oh, sure.
And so those went to auction.
Okay.
But the bricks, we just had a pallet out there, and
Okay.
folks could grab them if they wanted.
Right now, there is a pallet?
No, that was in the previous demolition.
Oh, okay.
So those are.
It's all gone.
Uh-huh. But if that was a
Sure, if someone
request, we
wanted
could
that.
do it
For
for
the
the,
second
Internal
stage?
block?
yeah,
I couldn't
Yeah.
the
remember
north
that
end of
in
the
my
D
brain.
wing. Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm not suggesting a mad rush up there for people to grab.
Sure, and it's,
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Interesting.
okay. If there's nothing else on Highland, the next one is on PV Tech. We do have some information there, and part of it is, again, the rain that we had there. As I mentioned, that we were very, very tight in the construction to the open house. And this rain doesn't help us very much. And we knew that the kitchen wasn't going to be all the way staged and set up. The welding bays, the welding shop, and the construction shop weren't going to be there. And so we had a lengthy discussion, and so we feel that it's probably wisest to postpone our grand opening.
Oh.
And basically
The open
until
house?
the open house, if you will, until the spring.
And will the governor still come?
Again, we will have to look at his schedule there. But this just allows, and I'll even rip it out of my little bit. Courtney has, put up some good verbiage there that, again, we're excited to showcase this, and we're still using it. Again, we have 14 classrooms in that building, so taxpayer dollars are definitely being used. It's just to have the grand opening, we thought to have the full functionality, have that kitchen set up, have the equipment, in the construction, in the welding shop. And so to show that fully completed in the spring, probably April, timeframe.
So you mean the ribbon cutting, the whole?
Yes, that we would.
Do you think we'll still have the ISBA zone meeting?
So that we
Yeah.
talked about that. So yes, that would
Okay.
still be there
Or
because
whatever it's called.
We never
again
did do our
they would
concrete
probably be a tour.
plants.
I wouldn't see there. We have the state scheduled in middle November. So there's, and again, it's, what do we say, 85% complete, and and again, it was a lengthy debate. We could have still shown it October 3rd, it just wouldn't have been as grand as it maybe it could have been. So,
So
That-
Mrs. Judy and Mr. Facer had an opportunity to
Yep.
walk it last week, and Mr. Facer been through a few times. And so, Jim, you and I had talked at the end of our meeting last week about maybe pushing it back just 3 weeks or so. And then we had a further conversation with the on-site superintendent who said, it's still going to be a working construction area. I can move those big boxes, they're called connexes, they look like freight cars over a terrain. He said I could move those somewhere, I don't know where, I'm sure Home Depot would not appreciate, we just set them over there. But for 2 or 3 hours, then I need to bring them back and get to work. So I can finish those industrial spaces for you. And so, again, logistically, it's tight, but in showcasing the true picture of what that facility will serve and the students that it will serve, it's just not quite there. Jim, I don't know if you'd like to comment.
Well, we talked about, of course, the end of October, you're looking at the elections, or you'd be in the middle of that, and then you got Thanksgiving, and then you got Christmas, and then you got New Year's. And, it just keeps, there's gonna be so much going on that we felt like that maybe it'd be best. I think the other thing is like Jonathan said, that our grand opening wouldn't be so grand if we walked in and you see half of a welding shop and half of a construction shop, and our EMT shop looks like, you got a fire truck sitting there out in the open mostly, where there's nothing around it. If we had it all dressed up and had it looking like it really would be working, even though it's clear into April. I would love to have had it shown in October, but I think when we bring legislators and the governor and whoever else might want to be there, maybe even the press, come take pictures and say, hey, this is what you got for your $50 million, or your $12 million, or whatever it was we spent. But I think it would be more impressive to have it completely completed, even though we had to put it off for a while. I really hated to do that, but.
So are you suggesting, or are you suggesting April?
We were thinking spring timeline, if we got notices out in March, maybe we could do first week in April or something. Certainly, we would want to get a little bit closer so that we make sure the board can all be there and it meets your schedules. And then we would put out another notice. So we would have one based upon providing this information to the board tonight, to send kind of a little retraction out there and say we got too excited, maybe. And to be fair to our contractor, ACM, the original contract was for 18 months. And so, as you know, we started that project in October. So to try to hold them to a year was going to be a bit of a challenge to start with. They were quite confident, and we were in their work as well. But, between weather conditions and subcontractors and materials, it's almost questionable with any project you undertake. And so that's really where we are, and we wanted to share with the board tonight before we make a public announcement. This is it, I guess.
And it was brought up that if we push some of these projects faster than they can build them, then we don't get the quality that we want to. We want to make sure that we have a quality building. And I think, I don't know if this is going to be the model school for the state of Idaho, but I think we're going to be right up there with it. And I think we want to show it off and make sure that we impress them so that they know what they spent their money on is a good thing.
Sounds good.
That sounds great.
Okay.
I like that.
So
Well,
we'll keep you
Time
updated.
is money.
Can I ask one question we just
Please.
mentioned?
Yeah.
I didn't know if any more talk was about the vet tech, if that space would, maybe that's not something that you're thinking about right now, but just what we had talked about when we were outside.
Sure,
To
just a
the part that wasn't done, it was still
Correct.
kind of dirt and
We
gravel.
did remove 3
leaving.
parking spots, and what Miss Judy was saying is that, again, we'll have vet tech, and is there a little space for some animals could be there
That we wouldn't
close?
have to tear out.
So initially, I probably say we wouldn't, we could plan for something in the future, but it wouldn't be,
Well, I just mean to leave it untouched and not go ahead and pave it or put grass or whatever, just leave it.
I think Mrs. Knapp's plan is just out that back door of vet tech, and right now it is landscaped, and so it would take a little bit of work to put that together. And these are just visits, for the animals. They're not staying over, and so I think we'll just kind of
that
work.
makes me
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
little
we're not-
staging areas, just little,
They come over in a horse trailer.
just little,
Yeah.
Just a little
and so
daycare.
that's, maybe
I
we'll
would just-
work through that for a year or two before we delve into, caretaking of animals, whatever.
I guess I was just thinking, though, what my question is would we just leave the part that's already torn up?
Oh, that's a
Just-
little bit further down, I think, than what
Yeah, I
they
guess we
were
had mentioned,
hoping.
or the architect
Yeah.
mentioned, maybe we should just put the animals here, because it's already torn
Already
up.
there,
But
Well, I
maybe
have
that's
confidence.
not it.
I have confidence in these contractors that when they get done, this is gonna be a really, really nice inside and out.
Oh, yeah.
That there's not gonna be anything left to say, oh, well, you should have done this, or we didn't finish this up, or whatever. These guys are pretty professional.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really so impressive.
Okay. The next item up for action is proposed changes to our pay manual. Again, we reviewed those last week. Again, some of the changes regarding insurance, some per se rates, and then just some miscellaneous updates there at the end. And so the summaries and the redlined copy is there in front of you, but that is up for action this evening to accept the changes.
Okay, so I would propose that we accept the changes proposed in the pay manual revision for the 2024-2025 pay manual. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board adopt the pay manual revisions for the 24-25 as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion passed. The next is the VIBA.
Okay. So
Can you
for,
tell me what that means?
yes, I have it right here. Yes. Appreciate Dr. Hal reminding me, hey, we.
it.
Yep, and it's very close. It is. So VIBA is our Voluntary Employees Beneficiary Arrangement. Essentially, it's a tax exempt trust, if you will. It's its own little fund, not little, but it's its own fund. We use that to help pay for medical medical premiums for our classified staff. And so this, I actually had to go look it up. This started back in 2005. We received a large check, a reimbursement check. It was when we transitioned away from Blue Cross, and this was kind of, they were holding this several $100,000 for us there. And the minutes from the board stated that it would be used for classified staff. And then sometimes it was used throughout these times. It was added to when we went to Pacific Source, and if you didn't complete all your wellness provisions, we would charge you actually $65 a month, and that's where this would go into. Obviously, we're not doing that since we went to the state plan, and so right now it's just earning some interest. So
So the state doesn't really encourage or require anything like mammograms or colonoscopies, any of those kind of wellness things, right?
of course they encourage that, but no, they don't.
But not a monetary.
Correct, not anything of,
Encouraging.
correct, not any incentives, not anything incentives. So in front of you is, we have a board, if you will, of representatives, myself, our finance coordinator, Kate Teeter, and Shauna Miller, our insurance administrative assistant, who's been there since. She's great experience and was been there from the beginning. And then we have a PEA member, and then we have a classified member, and those two have filled their 2-year terms. And so you'll see that we recommend Ms. Marianne McGrory to serve as the PA representative, and Ms. Cheryl Marley to be appointed for the classified representative. Again, they're just going to review some financials. They'll make sure we have meetings, and then but the board will also, you will be able to approve any transfers, from this account.
I guess I'm not really sure what this account is being used for right now, because I understand the history.
Correct. So there's the history. So we can transfer in the bylaws. It's only up to $175,000. Again, this would help. It would be to offset the cost of the insurance premiums.
Oh.
Since we went to the state, it's, they're fairly good there, and we I personally haven't used it since it's been there. So, but it's just slightly under $1 million, 996,000. So it's a significant amount that would be available there for, several years, if we deemed, that we needed that.
If so you want to save that for potential, maybe a change in a health insurance plan or anything like that? You want to keep it as the health and wellness?
Yes, and that's, we do need to keep it that just because of the tax implementation. Put it as, it's because this VIBA is actually an IRS term, that they allow us to, again, not earn any interest there. But we've been talking about, okay, how can we use this money? Because we don't, school districts, we normally don't sit on savings. We're using it, saving it, save it for a rainy day, which, we can look in there.
Is it dry interest?
It does dry interest, correct.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
so
does?
this-
Oh, okay.
Correct,
You
it
said
does, because it's just sitting up in in the state fund, as part of our large one, and so we always allocate the interest appropriately for the months there. And of course, this last year, it gained quite a bit, 50,000.
Sure.
Okay.
So
So you don't want to do anything with it?
at least not at this point. All in the action item in front of you is just to, if you we just need to appoint 2 more representatives to the VIBA, to this VIBA committee.
Right. So we've not found it necessary to draw it down at all because we've been able to keep up on our premiums with the plans and with the state insurance fund, or not state insurance fund, sorry, that's workman's comp.
Yeah.
With our state insurance plan.
Correct.
Right. It's worked out that we haven't had to use it. So this committee would just advise the board if
Correct.
there was a potential change or necessary to draw it down.
Yeah.
Because currently, there really isn't any legal way to get it out anyways.
There's ways legally to do that, but the necessity is not there
Okay.
currently.
I see, okay. So the action item is to approve the 2 appointees. So I would, are you ready for that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to appoint the new VIBA trustees as presented. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board appoint the new VIVA trustees as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed, so thank you, Jonathan. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report, which will be presented by Douglas Howe, and he will present the board calendar and the policies and the resolutions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair. As you can see, we're here tonight. And then next up will be a placeholder for Wednesday, the 26th, for student discipline. So if you'll just pencil that in, we'll know better by tomorrow if we have any hearings for you. October 3rd, we've discussed that. PV Tech ribbon cutting open house, we're going to delay or postpone that. However, I think that evening is the Region 5 ISBA meeting that was referenced earlier as well. So is that 5:30?
And
Yes.
5:30.
It will still be there at the PV Tech?
Yes, we'll just use one of the conference rooms on the north side. That's the plan. And then if you're interested in attending that community prevention meeting, please RSVP Renee on October 8th. And then that will be our work session for October as well at 3:30. And then again, another placeholder every other Wednesday, student discipline hearings. Local Issues Committee, if you're interested in attending that, get a hold of Renee. Courtney usually has the topic for discussion, so if you're interested, again, in attending any of those, and they meet monthly at the Health Trust in the basement there, and so, again, let her know. Then that takes us out to the 15th, regular board meeting, student hearings, and key communicator scheduled for the 29th. And then you can see the first part of November is ISBA convention Wednesday through Friday. And so I think we have confirmation of rooms and registration and maybe even an early bird for Ms. Clark going over to attend another workshop. So,
And
yeah.
I'll just ask really quick, will you just send me the early bird sessions you're interested in attending, and I can get you registered for those?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so that's just information for you. Tonight as well, we have talked about these policies for review and revision. And so we talked about them on August 19th, the 20th, September 10th. And then tonight, these are all being brought before you as a second reading. I don't see that we've had any public comment along the way, and the board has certainly done their due diligence in reading all those policies and cross-referencing them with ISBA language, and then kind of that hybrid that was created based upon the recommendations of the board. So that's what you have before you tonight is, I think they're about 10 or 11.
Yeah, and I will note too, in the original packet, policy 6405 did not have the word professional stricken at the end of that policy, as Ray had suggested. So that is included in the addendum with that redacted word.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Where's the, oh, right at the very bottom.
Yes, the one that says addendum on it.
Oh, okay. Also, I just wonder, the parent, the permission slip isn't on here,
Right.
but did you just change that to make sure that it didn't say that they were giving permission for the counselors to do their classes? Because I know that was a concern that Jenna mentioned it.
I think that was just a misunderstanding because the original form did get updated when we sent that out in the Google format,
Oh, okay.
where that academic piece was removed from the permission because that's just
Oh, so that is.
something they don't need to provide permission for, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know she mentioned that if we're asking for permission for all of it together, then the people that don't want to give permission for counseling, then it makes it awkward because they need to be able to give them.
Right, and I think that's why we had
classes.
decided to take that off, because I think when she was talking about it, the original presentation to the administrators, it did include that information, but we had taken it off of there, so it wasn't
I s-
confusing people as to
Okay.
what they
I
were
see.
giving permission for.
And one other thing, I'm sorry, on the board calendar, I can't come to that student discipline hearing, so I just wanted to, since we're here, just
For
to
next
make sure
Wednesday.
that, yeah, just to make sure that there's somebody that could, oh, actually,
And I've got a conflict on the 9th, so I can come to the 25th, but not the 9th.
okay.
Okay, and that's for the student
Discipline.
Student
Okay.
discipline.
Correct.
Yeah, I just don't want to, so while everybody's here, just to
Yep.
make sure that you have the people that you need.
And then I also was going to ask, we didn't talk about school visits.
Oh, I'm sorry, if we could
Um,
step back. Yeah,
For me, not that I don't appreciate what all we do at New Horizons, I've already been there.
Oh, okay,
So I need to look at some of the other lists. There's several of the elementary schools that I have not.
okay,
So maybe we could look at,
you bet, send me a suggestion.
yep.
okay. Yeah, and we just try to do the first week, and we can arrange a time to meet your schedules and make sure that the administrators are prepared for us. And we'll talk a little bit about their goal setting, their packs, and that's what I hope to have them start reporting out to you when we attend. So it'll be informative and an opportunity just to see the workings of each building.
See what they need.
There you go. I like it, and what
Ask
they
the question
need.
of what they need.
There you go. Okay, all right. So myself or Mrs. Pettit or Mr. Watson will coordinate a time with each of you as you're assigned a specific school, or if we need to change it up, and yeah, we can be flexible that way.
Great.
Okay, so we're back to policies. We have a number of them there for you to adopt for second reading is the recommendation tonight.
Is there anybody that would like to comment about any specific policy? 'Cause we've kind of had a lot of discussion already. So if there isn't anything specific, can we go ahead and just make a motion? Okay. I hereby move that the board hear the following policies on second reading. I'll just say as presented, so we don't have to go through all those. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board hear the following policies on second reading for adoption as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Any, and, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passed. The next is the ISBA proposed resolutions.
Okay, and as we've already talked about on 2 previous occasions, tonight would be our third in reviewing these. And in fact, we'll probably talk about it one more time next month before we go to the convention, the state convention.
Right, that one is next October's work session. We'll go through all of the proposed resolutions and kind of provide voting direction for each other.
Isn't
See,
that at the
explain where everything.
convention?
They do have at the convention where you all vote there,
Mm-hmm.
but we usually discuss that as a board during work sessions so that you're all aware of what exactly those resolutions are proposing and you're ready to vote.
I see.
And-
I noticed that one of them is missing, because didn't we want the CTE funding?
Okay, so Ray called me about that earlier too and was asking about that. That one has been approved by the board, submitted to ISBA, and they have that due pass recommendation, so there's no further action needed on that. We're good to go.
I see.
So I guess I would wonder on the one that we're pulling, doesn't ISBA need to know that before they start printing materials? And can we not
They
do that
have the
tonight?
list and they can revise their electronic, communications that they send out. I don't know that they've printed full paper packets for convention yet, so they should have time. I think they needed to receive it by October 1st.
So both of these were, they said do not pass.
No, these ones are due, or, no,
So-
one
One is do
is
not and the
do not
other's
pass, and then the other, we're proposing to co-sign with Cassia County on Resolution 15.
So just as Renee said, the first one is we need to vote on, we can vote on them separately or together. The first thing is to pull the Resolution 9, and the second one is to co-sponsor Resolution 15 with Cassia County, having to do with the funding shortfalls for special education.
So I guess what I'm not understanding is why don't we just do that tonight? Why do we have to do it at another work session?
Oh, no, we're doing the action tonight
Oh,
to
okay.
do
Maybe I
these two.
misunderstood. Okay.
The October work session is once we get that full list of all of the ISBA resolutions.
see.
We go through them to talk about if we agree with the due pass or if we want to vote differently, but that way you guys are prepared when you get to convention to actually
Sure.
vote on the resolutions.
Very good.
In fact, in recent years, the vote has been separated. So for our board, 20%. Each of you cast that percentage of our vote. Whereas in previous years, it was the board was representative of the entire district. So you all voted together. And so that's why we'd spent more time talking about how the body would vote
Right.
rather than now it's more of an individual. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting,
Just like the first time we went to convention.
yeah.
Okay, and then also, could we add the ADA thing, because I didn't notice it in there. I mean, the funding formula is so confusing that, that wasn't a part of their proposed resolution, right? They
So-
were more talking about per student.
If you want to amend it, you would have to do that in the order, that Parliamentary Procedure Act convention.
I just was wondering
No.
if they wanted to do that, because they can change it however they want to, clear up until, what was it, like?
Correct. I think that if you
November,
wanted
like
to do that,
first
just,
or-
we could discuss adding that and then give some direction, and we could just have Doug send an email to
Just
Cassia
ask
County,
if
just
they would
making
like
that
to
suggestion,
have
and then it's up to them.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they should, I'm just,
Right.
just suggesting that.
Okay, all right.
But if that's okay, because Janelle, do you mind telling us how much money we lost when it went from, or do you know?
ADA.
ADA to enrollment? I mean, from enrollment back to ADA? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you told me the number and I forgot.
It was about $50,000 that special
Okay.
education lost.
Okay, and we did gain some Medicaid funding.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I guess it wasn't, I mean, that's still a lot, though. I mean, so,
It's about a whole teacher.
yeah, I mean, which they could certainly use. So I think it's worth at least adding that on there, because then I was thinking maybe if the legislators don't do anything but that, I mean, it's still, we're moving in the right direction. Anyway, okay, so I would, if there's no other discussion, I hereby move that the board withdraw ISBA Resolution Number 9, employment of board member spouses and co-sponsor ISBA Resolution Number 15, addressing funding shortfalls for special education with the proposed addition of proposing that they consider special education funding
I would still just
ADA.
make the motion as presented and then let
And then
them
you
decide
just-
if they want to update their
And then-
language,
But we agree that it's okay with,
which is
us if
fine to just do
we're
that with
asking.
direction, not.
okay. I just wanted to be sure that we were, everybody was okay with adding
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
Okay,
To talk to them, yeah.
okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If there's no other discussion, nothing else that we need to talk about, I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?